Thank you for everyone else for singing along. Side note, before I start, John, I was also terrified of Shel Silverstein's face on the back of the books. Fortunately, his poems had enough of effect on me that I could accept that. Reverend Christine gave a challenge to the worship associates. She asked us to each pick a poem, song, or short story, and as a group, dive deep into the possible meaning and lessons of that reading. To be honest with you, I picked the poem Where the Sidewalk Ends kind of on a whim. Although I very much loved Shel's poetry as a child, and still do now, I kind of disliked Where the Sidewalk Ends. It was too serious for me, not whimsical enough. As an adult, the poem grew on me. It became more of a lesson to me, to be more like a child in my priorities and my outlook in life. And most analysis of Where the Sidewalk Ends is that the poem is telling adults to be free and innocent when they can, to not let go of work and to be constant drive to succeed and to stop. Be free from worry and be playful. The writer C. Wesley Clow writes, central to the poem's appeal is its evocation of childhood as a state of wonder and limitless potential. That reference to peppermint wind and the soft white grass are elements that seem to belong in a dreamland, suggesting that such a magical place can be found just beyond the mundane realities that adults have come to accept as the entirety of existence. That shift in perspective from when I was a child to an adult interested me enough to explore it more. And that's kind of where I was until my fellow worship associates got their hands on it. Together we conducted a kind of structured brainstorming of the poem, and today I'd like to share with you some of the lessons we can learn from the deeper exploration of that poem. As mentioned by the writer, the first stanza tells of a fantastical place, a place with soft white grass, peppermint wind, and moonbirds, related to but not quite reality. Never heard of moonbirds. This place where the sidewalk ends is idyllic to the point where it can't be real. And then the second stanza starts dark. It describes a place where smoke blows black and a dark street, but Shel couldn't help putting a little bit of light in, mentioning where the asphalt flowers grow. Those flowers that grow through the cracks in pavement are a symbol of hope and resistance. Maybe Shel wanted us to recognize the resistance that exists in our society, the anti-capitalist and green movements. Maybe he wanted to say the earth resists our attempts to control it. Or maybe he just noticed flowers that grow in the cracks and liked them. And the asphalt flowers mark a transition in the stanza to the message of hope. The next line reads, "We shall walk with a walk that is measured and slow." Shel is telling us that we can find our way to that idyllic paradise, but it will be a long journey, and that must be deliberately taken. There are no shortcuts that we can rush to the end. And we'll watch where the chalk white arrows go to the place where the sidewalk ends. There's even arrows on this long path, pointing us to the right direction, guiding us to the idyllic place. And what about the choice to use chalk as the arrows? Chalk is temporary. Is Shel telling us that as society changes, maybe the path changes as well? But it's okay because the arrows can be erased and redrawn to keep us on the path. But the arrows being chalk also means people in positions of power and authority can act to erase the arrows. But that's okay because those resisting the authoritarians will just redraw the arrows. I can't help today but to think of the former Pulse nightclub in a symbol of hope and recognition of our diversity and a symbol of pride in the LGBTQ plus community. The crosswalk outside the nightclub was painted in rainbow blocks instead of the normal black and white. When the Florida government outlawed rainbow crosswalks, among many other things, and yes, Ron DeSantis and the Florida legislature really are that petty. People went out and chalked rainbow blocks again. And when the government washed away that chalk, the people went out and chalked the rainbow again. The process has repeated itself over and over again to this day because the people refuse to give in to the authoritarian act of the government. Back to Shel's poem, in the third stanza, Shel reinforces the message of hope, repeating that we'll walk a walk that is measured and slow, and will go where the chalk white arrows go. Then, all the way at the end of the poem, he lets us on to the most powerful message to me. For the children they mark, and the children they know the place where the sidewalk ends. It's the children that have walked the path before us. It's the children that have marked the path for us to follow. The children know the way to the ideal place where the sidewalk ends, and they want us to follow. And what is this path? I think the children shun the idea of profit being important. They find happiness and satisfaction from whatever the world gives them. And they have drawn a path for adults to do the same. The poem is hopeful that the adults will listen, but it leaves us wondering if they will. How does that relate to our current world? And a caveat that I will speak from the lens of the United States, but much of this applies around the world as well. The adults of our world, think of the establishment and the government, are destroying our environment, suppressing minorities, and depriving so much of the population of basic human rights, all for the sake of profit and power. Our youth have been steadfastly fighting against the establishment and trying desperately to save the world, not hyperbole. There are so many examples of our youth fighting for change, most recently with the school walkouts across the country, an effort that many youth in our congregation participated in. And they have drawn this path for the adults so many times. But as of yet, too many of the adults have largely ignored that path. I myself am guilty of often looking at the actions of my own children and saying, that gives me hope for the future. And just being satisfied at that. So often the establishment actively works to erase the path, but the youth keep redrawing it. And there's nothing new about youth leading us to a better path. The civil rights and anti-Vietnam War movements were predominantly led by youth. Occupy Wall Street was a youth movement. But our youth are tired and frustrated. I mean, wouldn't you be? They keep drawing us a path to a better way, begging us to follow, or maybe even lead on occasion. So it's up to us adults to not just listen to the youth and tell them how proud and impressed we are, but to take up the path to the end of the sidewalk, to be the leaders in fighting for a better world. And that's not to say we adults are doing nothing. We saw it in Minneapolis. We see it in simple acts of resistance across the country. We are seeing it today with so many out this very day at No Kings protests. We see it in progressives taking up the call and running for office. We even see it with the actions of so many in our congregation. But we have to do more. And it's time for change the pattern. It's time for us adults to not just follow the path, but start making it ourselves. So what can we do about it? For starters, vote. Vote like your life depends on it, because even if it doesn't, somebody's does. Write and call your senators and congressmen, even if, like me, Andy Biggs is your congressman. It really can affect how they vote. Not so much Andy, but the rest of them. Sign the petitions we have at the back of the table. Or better yet, take a petition to get others to sign. Find a local protest effort find a local protest or effort to support. Mobilize.us is a great place to check out what is happening in our area. If you have the ability to do so, find a local progressive candidate and donate your time to their campaign. And let me acknowledge that I speak from a place of privilege. Not everyone has the means or the safety to act, which makes it all the more important that those of us with privilege do act. So go out, make change, do what you can to make the world a better place. Because I have confidence we will get there. I believe we can find the place over the rainbow connection, the place where the sidewalk ends. Thank you.